It's not. Schrodinger's cat. I don't know. Um, it applies everywhere, and people need it, and it's actually a generous thing to give them. To me, it felt like, oh God, that was so insulting that I would have to tell them what to do, but it's what people crave and they need to be successful. So yeah, I would absolutely, if I had worked in an office, had a manager outside of like a shoe store before I started my first business, like I might have had an example of what that looked like, but I didn't. And there's something like very sexy, not sexy, but like, oh wow, like 22, blah. But it's like if I could go back, I would have worked in an office environment and had, experienced management, even if it wasn't great, just to know what that even looked like. The only office I've ever worked in, my name was on the lease of, and it just,
If you could take some of those businesses back now, would you? That was the second part of the two-part question
like
from the series
still,
project.
like still
Yeah,
work there.
if you could revive them, would you? Or is your new universe the one that you just talked about, freedom, authenticity, connection, independence? Would you not go back because your previous businesses wouldn't have all of that?
Yeah, this is not like an alternative. This is, you can't change history. Um, I didn't anticipate not, leaving Girl Boss, a few months after I sold it, 6 months after I sold it, but COVID happened. And the company really, we did a lot of events and that all kind of went to zero. But as I think about, this next stage in my life, it's the first time that I haven't really been beholden um, to this beast that I, started. And honestly, if this becomes a $100 million company, I'm not going to let that happen because I don't want what comes along with it. I just
Yeah,
don't.
there's not too many kitchen counter $100 million businesses, are there?
What do you even do with that? I'm like, I want solar panels. I just want solar panels, like I don't need shit, like my clothes, whatever. No, so no, I wouldn't. As much as I loved my time at Nasty Gal and at Girl Boss, and worked with such amazing people and did super fun stuff. Like I'm having fun, and this is part of my evolution. Even when things don't go right, there's always an opportunity for you to get up and be, to reinvent, and like I just kind of love that. I love it.
Awesome. There's another question coming from YouTube Live that I think is really interesting, and it's a little bit longer, and I'm gonna paraphrase. It's basically, do you believe, and it's from Moise Levy, do you believe that your business can be copied, or is it unique because it's based on your personality?
I thought Nasty Gal was unique based on my personality, and then all these people came around and sold cheaper dresses and cast the same models and sold similar clothes. And like, I do think that eroded our business because at the end of the day, someone would rather pay $40 for a dress than $70 for a dress. There's just a customer. So I thought Nasty Gal would like, compete on the brand and that people knew the difference, and they'd show up and pay more because Nasty Gal was a feeling, like it was a brand that meant a lot to people. And, these other websites were like a commodity and just like selling stuff. Like nobody was emotional about those brands or purchasing from them. So I think I was like a little overconfident with Nasty Gal because those like cheapo retailers that showed up and the copycats, like I know I can't quantify it, but I know they affected our business. With this one, it's like I think it's just a little naive to say that anything can't happen. I imagine, and this is like, I don't really make claims like this. Similar to Girl Boss the book, there were no millennial women writing business books, and now there's an entire category of it. And Girl Boss has been in every one of their proposals to every publisher saying like, this is the comp, and this is like what we want to achieve, right? And then I end up blurbing their books. I think this is going to be that, and I think there's going to be like a bunch of other like and that's great based on other people's experiences. So the category will get more crowded because people do want to learn, independently now. Education's changed. Can't even go to college. But I don't think nobody has my story, right? Nobody's fucked up at the scale I've fucked up, and nobody, and plenty of people have like succeeded at whatever, done things way better than me. Um, but my story is a unique one. My experience is a unique one, and what I share, other people like wouldn't share. I just kind of like I told my therapist like there's nothing I would talk about with you in here that I wouldn't just like tell people. Like it's like all like if it runs through my head, it runs through other people's head for sure. So and if you want to, it's just kind of like it's way stickier to share what you actually feel than to like make a bunch of shit up. Whatever, I'm gonna throw this in, and this is one thing that is unique about what you get with business class and whatever comes out of my mouth is that what I've noticed over the years is that when I talk at a conference, people are just so tickled that I'm genuine, and I'm just like, are you walking around just like reading a script? Like, what are you doing? What did you make up? Like, what are you hiding? How is this novel? That makes me really sad, and I don't want to be celebrated for that. But hey, if it helps people and it helps them tell their stories and normalizes whatever kind of weird shit that runs through my head and, perverted kind of like business mistakes and not perverted, but just like whatever is how I'm going to articulate myself now in this interview.
That's your defining character.
Just like whatever. That's the answer to your question.
Well,
brilliant.
No, I think there's something very serious embedded in there. This idea that, go back to the question is like, is your idea unique? And most ideas are not unique, but the personality behind them, what you put into it, that is whether it's art or entrepreneurship. I think what I'm hearing from you and what I've personally experienced is this. When I think of you and your brand and whatever it is that you make, that's the reason that I'm interested in it, because you personally have a set of experiences that very few people, if any, have. And I think that's what makes the thing interesting and valuable. And the goal isn't to try and, for those people who are going to take the business class, the goal isn't to be the next Sophia. I'm guessing the goal, and what I know from your course and from the welcome and the idea audit, especially up front in the course, is that you're trying to help people be the best versions of themselves and bring the unique set of skills that they have. And that's one of the, as someone who's through Creative Live has built, 2,000 classes. And when I'm looking at business class, your recent launch today, in fact, for anyone who's just joining us late, is like that. The thing that are your weirdest, quirkiest, most unique experiences, that's the thing, whether you're a creator or entrepreneur, that you need to put the most of into your business. And when I see your work out there and when I see what you produced, to me, those are the defining characteristics, unmistakably Sophia. So yeah, and to that end, got a couple of other questions. One in particular that is getting at me here, which is, why now? We got Grady, we've got Dylan, Esmeralda, Bruce, Caleb, Marcelo.
I'm compelled. I'm compelled. This is like a vacation. Did I interrupt you?
No, but there's just a lot of people. Fun. And the common thread is, why now? Like, why are you putting this out there? Is it specifically timed, or are you just sitting in your home twiddling your thumbs? What can I do? This is something I can do from my home.
I can't afford to twiddle my thumbs. I have a mortgage. I'm subscribed to a life that if I don't earn a living, I don't want to burn through cash. I'm not destitute, but I'm also not someone who just wants to blow money. I don't understand. Maybe someday I'll take a sabbatical or whatever people do. I don't know how
I'm wondering about that at some point.
I don't know how people afford that. I don't relate to it, and I'm just having a blast. This is like getting a massage. Every time I see a piece of creative that is part of this brand, and every time I finish a worksheet and look at all the interesting ways that I never even realized that I reverse engineer things that I take people through, that they're able to do, I'm really inspired. And I'm just, it's I think people think you're supposed to take breaks and go away, especially as a public figure. Oh my God, you're like Beetlejuice. This is the third business. It's do I have to say it 3 times? Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Like, are you going to go away? And I'm just like,
If you're 20 and you don't know what she means, look it up. Um, okay, so why now? The answer then is because this is the time of life that you're in. You feel like you've got another idea that you want to put out there in the world. So is that fair to say, or am
yeah,
I
just like
unfair?
it's like
Well,
this is channeled. Like this is just, it's just there. So it's like, why would I sit on it?
as someone who's been along for a couple in your friend circle for a couple of these businesses, this to me seems crazy focused and crazy aligned with who I understand you to be. And again, for those who are just joining us, we got a couple of folks, Gotham City just tuned in. We've got another Argentina. If you're just joining, I'm sitting with Sophia Amoruso, and she today, like, I don't know, 7 hours ago, launched her new online course called Business Class. Can you walk us through just a few specifics, like for the folks right now who are like typing it into their browser? What is it you get? Why do you know? What's the? I'm sure you got a. Ooh, that is so beautiful, by the way. It's amazing. It's
This
incredible.
gets shipped to your house no matter where in the world you are. This is blue skies ahead. And this is what you put your hundreds of worksheets in as you go through the course over 8 weeks that I lead you through and do weekly Zoom calls. But you also get lifetime access to a war chest of shit that I know or have experienced or watched other people do or not do, along with best practices and whatever. It's all on the landing page at takebusinessclass.com. But you get everything. There's a bunch of bonuses too. So there's like 8 okay, so there's 8 flights. Those are modules. Modules are called flights. Within the modules, there are lessons, multiple lessons. So if it's the, finance and legal, it's like intellectual property, LLCs or corporations, finances. So that's like the the less fun visual one. But those are each called legs. So there's flights and there's legs. And I take you through everything from just like naming your strengths and discovering what your strengths are at the top of the course, to doing a competitive analysis and just kind of figuring out. There's a lot of reverse engineering. So just, like literally when I don't want to talk about it. I can't give it all away. But, scoping out your competition, plotting out where you sit on that map, doing a SWOT analysis. So there are some kind of MBA business school kind of exercises in there because I've done them and I think they're good. And I was resistant at first to be like, what is this weird graph and like some of this stuff is important. Problem solution, figuring out what problem you're solving for, how to solve it, how to talk to your customer to make sure that like you're actually solving a problem and, relieving friction that they have in the world. Putting together your MVP or minimum viable product and throwing that into the world, putting out the ugliest, most basic thing you can as quickly as possible and getting feedback as quickly as possible, all the way to naming your business, like such a fun exercise in naming. And even if you have a business name, it's like you're going to name another product, you're going to name more things, and I'm good at names and I love it. To logos, brand identity, colors, complementary fonts, building a website, paid marketing, earned, owned, running a Facebook ad, to, what compliance means with employees, how to recruit, how to negotiate. There's a whole module on negotiation. So negotiating, it's a bonus amenity. Negotiating on with vendors, with clients, so grinding vendors down, getting clients to pay more and paying people fairly but not overpaying them, and whether or not you should put out the number first or second. And there's also another bonus module there's one on getting press and pitching yourself to be on podcasts and things like this, because not everyone can afford a publicist. There's also a module on hiring for diversity and inclusion, which is taught by a woman named Victoria Tori Bell, who founded the Black Women at Facebook group, and 8 essential legal documents that are worth like $3,000.
I thought it was 10. I think it's 10.
I don't
Maybe
know
it's
how
safe.
to, it's like, I haven't gotten the bill yet. So I didn't want to like overvalue,
No, what you just listed is that's an insane amount of information and value. And I'm just gonna go not blowing smoke, but I'm gonna go right at it. My favorite thing about this is that it's not when I read business books and I've read, if it's been on the bestseller list, I would say I've read it over the past like 5 years. And what is not true about this course is that most of those books that are full of shit are if you have a perfect life and a perfect idea and you take these perfect steps and you're going to have this great little thing. And I just don't know anyone's life, anyone's entrepreneurial experience who looks or smells anything like that.
no.
And yours comes from tangible, like you share when what you did has worked and what you did has not worked. And the fact that, to me, that is my favorite thing about it. It's like Ben Horowitz's book, The Hard Thing About Hard Things, when you have chapters that are titled How to Fire Your Friend and How to Tell Your Employees That You Don't Have Any Money. And, those are the real things that entrepreneurs solve. And that's my favorite thing about what you've done with business class is it's so practical from someone who's actually lived it. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm getting a lot of thank yous from around the world, if that's true. And there's two questions that we have to get in. One is from Kyra James from Instagram Live, and they're asking who is the ideal customer for this course? Who should buy this course?
Yeah. So we call the ideal customer the perfect passenger on business class. And my perfect passenger is someone who either has an existing business and may be a creative, or someone who didn't necessarily go to business school or did but is actually trying to implement what it is that they learned and maybe doesn't have exposure to someone who's done it. So someone with a business who wants to professionalize and get it right in the beginning and make sure that you build something that will scale beautifully rather than kind of cheaping out and thinking that it takes too much time to do these things because it'll really bite you in the long run. It'll really like catch up to you if you don't know or do these things, as well as someone who has a solid idea and is serious about building a business and validating their idea, not necessarily dumping a ton of money into it, but someone who's not like noodling on like maybe, I don't know, because this is dense. It's like, it's serious. It's not fluffy. It's like, hopefully it's inspirational by the, runoff that comes with creating your own like amazing brand and business, but it's not like fluffy or formulaic. And it's not, something that, it's something for someone who's serious but also loves puns and beauty.
Speaking of beauty, Jason Naylor on Facebook says, wow, the design and packaging on your course is incredible.
Thank you.
Dylan asks if this works for creatives like artists because he wants to pitch this to his wife. I think I can answer that and saying, heck yeah, seems to me who it's targeted for. And then I think there's another corollary to the like who's your ideal passenger in your world. This question comes from D. Casey Photo, asking your opinion on success for people in other parts of the world. Is this just a dream that's possible in America, or can I learn something for my home territory?
Yeah, the only things that don't apply internationally, I mean, we're talking about leadership, we're talking about finance. There are a few things like LLCs and corporations, employment law, and like intellectual property, like trademarks and protecting like the name of your business. Those things are different in the U.S. This is for every country. So we ship this beautiful notebook to every single country in the world. And it's like your audience is international. Mine is as well. And I think it's hard to, it's the whole kind of trope that online courses kind of sell, that like anybody can do anything just like me, I think is really, really a disservice to people.
Say more about that.
So everybody has a different experience and is starting from a different place. And the whole, like, if you put your mind to it, you can do it. I mean, I believe that absolutely, right? I believe that we can manifest things through like hard work and good intentions and, educating ourselves. And, hopefully this is part of that. But when not everybody is starting from the place that I started, right? Like, I wasn't destitute. I had a crappy old Volvo, but, I grew up solidly middle class. I'm white. The first stuff I sold online was stolen. And I got away with that. And that's a funny part of my book. But like, I got away with that because I'm a white girl, And there's a lot of, there's rooms that I've walked into that I'm more accepted in or invited to those tables because I fit in better than someone who is marginalized, right? So as far as other countries go, right, I don't know specifically where you are, what your set of circumstances is. The advice in business class is pretty universal advice outside of like a few things that have to do with like legal. It's leadership, it's marketing. I mean, it's everything that works, and we're all building businesses on such a global level that unless there's some kind of new retail format in a country that's physical, or it's like it's so yes, I think it would apply to you.
Awesome. Ron, also from Facebook, asks, I didn't know that owning a business would end up being a psychological exercise in managing my personal issues so I can operate successfully. Have you found that being a business owner requires the same of you to get through personal stuff, obstacles, overcoming fear, etc.?
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty heartfelt and honest question. Like that's,
yeah, doing anything is hard. Everything is hard, whether it's personal or professional. And I feel, even though I've been dragged through the mud, I've had really bad publicity. I built a crappy culture at Nasty. I just didn't know what I was doing. Like, all of those things I've taken to heart and actually considered if they're true. So every hardship I've experienced, or everything that's been said about me that is, by someone who doesn't actually know what happened or doesn't know who I am, or it's just writing a sensational headline, I consider it all. And I've had an opportunity, whether it's employee feedback, right? I consider it all, and kind of like, I don't take it all for, at face value, but there's an opportunity to learn from everything that happens in your business, good and bad. And actually, success just makes you lazy, right? Like, when you're on top of the world, you don't see what's like below the tide. It's like a bunch of weird crabs and like dead crabs and funky mud and trash. Sometimes, canned beer, empty cans. But and I personally think that business is just a kind of vehicle for you to, if you listen, be a better person. So I'm an only child, and greasy. I'm an only child who didn't really learn to share, I didn't finish college, so finishing things was like I was without discipline. And through business, I've kind of rounded out, I think, a lot of the things I would have probably gotten growing up had I had siblings or happy parents, or, I've learned a lot about communication and boundaries and things that do apply to my personal life that I feel so lucky have been, and to have been able to learn with something that is also inspiring to me and, has for the most part made money. So I think, businesses can be like a very kind of spiritual journey if you're listening for the lessons.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of that in the section and the course around management and leadership. And those are very different things. And of course, you go deep on the culture part, which is where you are. You've shared before that's like a new leaf for you. What is it that you want to build, and how can you be intentional about it? What's hard right now? This is a new adventure for you, and I think you've done a good job of sharing past challenges and overcoming, whether it's venture capital or a lower price competitor or whatever. But what's hard now?
I mean, I think it's taking care of myself. I think I'm supposed to say, I mean, this whole lifestyle thing, like it comes after launching a business. I can talk all about wellness and, the last few weeks have been, 16, 18-hour days. Like I went to bed at like 3:30 a.m. last night and Fast Company broke at 4 a.m. and I was up for a team group call and looking at sales coming through very early in the morning. So honestly, I think it's like eating, like not ordering delivery.
Actually cooking at your own house. Good
I
food.
just miss cooking. Yeah, I'm kind of like burnt out on like pokey delivery and sweet green. What else is hard? I mean, it's hard and really romantic, but if you go on the website at takebusinessclass.com, there's like a beautiful video. So all of the course lessons and then the video you see on the homepage were shot, directed, like mic'd up, edited, including graphics and sound by my boyfriend, Galen, who I've been with for 4.5 years. And it's beautiful, but like we're in our house, like working together. And it's been really, really fun, but it's also like we haven't stopped to just be together in a little while. So I think that's challenging. I think it's, it can take a toll on your relation. We're fine, but I just kind of like miss not doing anything with him.
Thanks for sharing that part of it. And also folks around the world like Ron and Sergi and Kelly and Tomas are thankful to get led into your inner circle here. So speaking of that, what's next? Like, if I know that maybe you can reshare with us, there's a limited opening for your course. It opens today and you have to get in by a certain time. And so explain a little bit about how it works. So if anyone who's listening does want to check it out. And again, I need to go on record as someone who's seen it and made a lot of this stuff myself for 10 years. And I feel like I've seen everything under the sun. This is super well done. And it's very, very valuable information that you can really only learn from someone who has had the type of experience that Sophia has had. So my personal endorsement right there. But walk people through what their experience would be and how long they've got, because it's, as you mentioned before we got live, there's it's not for everyone, and and it's limited in space and time. So give people the instructions.
Yeah, so because business class is a course for entrepreneurs who, with which I do weekly group calls and I answer everybody's questions, both about the course content, and we have a private online community. It's an app for iOS and I can't believe how much we pulled off in 3 months, but it's a iOS and Android app called The Lounge. So I'm in there as well, and because of that, it has to be over a finite period where I'm taking kind of like a class of students through business class, and it's just not like here's a thing, So we have to close the doors and take off by a certain date. And so doors close October 9th. So you cannot purchase business class for an indefinite period, because hopefully I can sleep for several months after this. This is the only time you can really buy it until I just feel like doing it again. Like there's no 2021 plan. I'll write a book or something, do a podcast. But so it's open for the next 3 weeks. It's $19.99 US dollars, and we have a payment plan for US customers that's $99 a month, which is pretty awesome. What else? Yeah, so because I'm in there every week with you, I can't do that all year round. So I wanted to make something that was like super surgical, where I could really contribute and give people my time.
Awesome. Now, a little speed round here because we're up against time, and I know since it's launch day, you've got sales numbers to look at. I know you've got some other press that you're doing. So first of all, I want to say thanks from the Creative Live community worldwide, and there's a lot of gratitude in the comments. But speed round. So if this is your next endeavor, will you be doing anything else, or is this your full-time focus?
I mean, I can kind of do whatever I want. When you have investors and you try to do something else, they're like, what are you doing? You should be focused on making me more money. But I don't have investors, so I can kind of do whatever I want, and I want to do whatever I'm inspired by. It has to make some money, but if, if 5 people take this and are elated by, and their lives are changed, I'm much happier than 2,000 people taking it and like feeling kind of, blasé about it. Because I can like go do a podcast. And I don't say podcast like it would just be a podcast, but like there's plenty more for me to do. And I'll probably do it on top of this because I like to pile things on myself, but I'm going to phase them out much better than I have in the past. So there'll be another book, there'll be another podcast. Beyond that, I don't know, maybe I'll make some more cool merch or something, but this is like, I'm doing this right now, and then beyond that, like I get to be creative.
It seems like you want to have there's a little bit more levity and a little bit more playfulness in what I'm seeing and hearing from you than some of your other adventures. Is there why?
Bootstrapping's just fun, it's like I've invested my own money in this, so I'm not starting from nothing, but a lot's on the line. And every time I write I wrote all the copy for that like really, really long landing page, like there's no phoning it in here. And when someone loves it, like I, for the most part, am like, outside of, the video or some of the design, it's like, oh wow, like the content I created, I feel connected to what it is that I'm doing in ways that are harder to when you have teams executing on your behalf. And I'm just like, I like being in the weeds and, like tweaking. I'm just like a tweaker. And when I tweak something and it makes something better and someone responds to it and their life is better, or they purchase it or convert or whatever, respond to it or inspired by it, like that's just so gratifying. So I like being on the ground. I like being in the weeds. And I can only do that because I don't have a big team. You're kind of a dummy if you're in the weeds and you have a team. You can't do that. But for me, general management, I'm like not good at it. So I'm doing what I'm good at. I love it.
Well, it's insanely inspiring, and I think this concept of individuality, freedom, doing what you're good at, being passionate, staying close to the product. If any of these things sound like something that you're passionate about, I personally recommend you check out Sophia's new course at takebusinessclass.com. And I just want to say thanks for putting you into your work. It's fun to see, and for sharing the story of like what can happen when you do get all those things. And as someone who has investors, like it's just a different business model, and I respect and appreciate that. But for so many people out there, that's like a more of a one size fits all, one size fits most. And what I've seen from you and what I know this audience cares about is all of this, the individuality, the opportunity to build and connect with something that they care about. So long-winded. Thank you.
Thank
you.
A
huge congratulations for launching it. I wish you all the success that you deserve, and I can't wait to hear about all the nitty-gritty on the back end.
Thank you. I'm going to bug you. I'm going to pick your brain.
Happy to do it. And from people all over the world, Hawken, Jacqueline, Dylan, Randall, Grady, Kelly, Ron, Sarah, Sally. I can't pronounce that. I think it's Ulumo. People are saying thank you so much for sharing what it is that you've done and are doing with the world. And I'm guessing some people are going to be excited to tap into business class. And until next time, I bid you do any parting words of wisdom?
Bon voyage.
Oh, that's just right on brand, as they say. Well played. Thank you so much for being on the show, Sophia.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Ciao for everybody.
Bye,
and
Chase.
Again, if you just tuned in, that was Sophia Amoruso, and I hope you enjoyed another episode here of Chase Jarvis Live Show on Creative Live. More coming soon. Until next time, I bid you adieu.